On Luffy's side, they were still trying to escape. They were still very surprised, because Bonnie is Kuma's daughter. Suddenly, the cyborg destroyed a building, causing a large piece of debris to fall on them. Fortunately, Jinbei immediately blocked it. At this point, Bonnie stopped, because she thought this cyborg was her father. So, Luffy pulled her away. Thus, he continued to attack them, forcing them all into a dead-end alley. Jinbei realized there was no way out. So, he decided to fight him, while Bonnie was very worried. Even though Jinbei said he wasn't the real Kuma. But, Bonnie still tried to stop them, and used her devil fruit to turn Jinbei into a child. When the cyborg was about to attack him, he unexpectedly left. Meanwhile, Luffy and Chopper were turned into old men, as their appearances had been altered. So, the cyborg couldn't recognize them. When they were about to run away, suddenly, Luffy experienced back pain due to old age, and he fell through the wall. While the cyborg was still searching for them, Luffy's group found a safe room. At this point, Luffy had been turned into a 70-year-old man, making him frail and powerless. Meanwhile, Jinbei explained to Bonnie about Kuma, as he heard that Kuma was a cruel king, and was ousted by the people, which led him to become a pirate. Later, he joined the Revolutionary Army. But, Kuma was captured and turned into an experiment by Vegapunk. Eventually, Kuma became a warlord of the sea. At that moment, Bonnie found a sword of light. But, when she heard Jinbei say that her father was a tyrant, she immediately attacked them, and said, "My father is not a tyrant," nearly causing Luffy's group to die. But, he was surprised to find out it was a sword of light. Bonnie realized they were in a junkyard, where Vegapunk's failed inventions were discarded. At this point, Bonnie declared she would definitely kill Vegapunk, and she reverted Luffy and Chopper back to normal. But, only Jinbei remained transformed into a child. On the side of the other Straw Hat crew members, Lilith controlled a giant robot to bring them back to base, making everyone very excited, because they were flying on a giant robot. Lilith explained that the robot was equipped with anti-gravity devices, and additional thrusters at the back, so it could fly. That made Frankie very excited. At this moment, they had entered the city, which surprised Usopp, because it was very modern. However, Lilith took them straight to an island above. She said that on the cloud is the research center called Labophase, while below was the construction site, where many workers and research staff lived. So, they were taken to the research center, which delighted Frankie. Meanwhile, Zoro and Brook decided to stay on the ship, because Zoro didn't trust Lilith. But, Nami's group found the clouds in this place amazing. Lilith explained that they controlled the emissions on the island, and turned it into a cloud island and cloud sea, to make it resemble the sky island of Skypiea. Now, Lilith told them to go into the dressing room. That made everyone very excited. Robin and Nami began to choose outfits for themselves. So, both of them have changed into very nice outfits, that everyone very liked, because their outfits are very light and comfortable, while Zoro and Brook remained skeptical of this place, because it belonged to the world government. If Nami's group encounters danger, Zoro would immediately come to their rescue. Unexpectedly, Caribou was also there. It turned out Luffy had promised to help him escape from Wano. So, Zoro chased him away, making him fearful, because this place belonged to the world government. Meanwhile, Nami's group continued to be very excited. As they explored the research institute further, suddenly, they saw Lilith walk through a wall, which surprised them. So, Sanji tried to walk through it as well. And when they saw he was safe, everyone followed suit. However, when Usopp walked through it turned into an iron door. At this point, they couldn't find Lilith anymore. Suddenly, Vegapunk Edison started talking to them, and guided the whole group through the research institute. Nami thought there might be treasure here. Thus, they arrived at a room with many doors. Edison opened one of the doors, which surprised the entire group, because it was Jinbei. So, everyone thought he was Jinbei's son. Unexpectedly, he stood up and prepared to attack them. Meanwhile, Vegapunk Shaka was having a conversation with Dragon. Vegapunk said, "I'm about to die," but Dragon thought he was joking. At this moment, Seraphim Jinbei attacked Nami's group, so, Usopp realized they had been deceived. That's why they easily entered here. Nami recognized that the person standing in front of them was not Jinbei. Thus, they decided to fight him. Suddenly, he revealed the ability to swim, and Frankie recognized that this ability belonged to Senor, a subordinate of Doflamingo. So, he immediately grabbed Nami, making the whole group worried, and starting to dislike Vegapunk. Sanji was furious. So, he immediately kicked him with a powerful blow, because he dared to attack Nami. At this point, Robin was also angry. So, she used her devil fruit power, created a giant body and attacked him. But, he managed to block her consecutive attacks, and immediately rushed towards Robin. So, Usopp promptly shot him. He thought he had hit his target. Unexpectedly, Seraphim Jinbei disappeared. Then, he appeared behind Usopp and grabbed him. Franky immediately used his laser beam to save Usopp. Vegapunk 03 recognized its strength, but he didn't have time to warn Seraphim Jinbei to avoid it. He turned out to be Vegapunk Edison. Surprisingly, Seraphim Jinbei managed to avoid it. They realized this copy of Jinbei was very powerful. Unlike ordinary pacifistas, at this point, Lilith was furious with Edison, because the price of Seraphim was very high, and he used it as an experiment with the Straw Hat group, but both still wanted to continue fighting them, while Vegapunk 04 was collecting their combat data to improve Seraphim. Seeing Seraphim acquiring new skills made him very happy, so they continued to have Seraphim fight against Nami's group. On Vegapunk 06's side, named York just woke up. Feeling hungry, she immediately ate the cake, while the other Vegapunks are working. Then they were immediately filled with energy. Turns out all of Vegapunks is interconnected. York took charge of eating, to power other Vegapunks. Suddenly, all the Vegapunk members experienced stomachache. After York finished using the restroom, they all felt better. So, they resumed their work. It turned out York's task was solely to eat, defecate, and sleep. At this point, Shaka made a phone call to them, and announced the next plan. While Sanji's group was still under attack by Seraphim Jinbei, suddenly, Shaka appeared. He immediately seized control of the clothes they were wearing, rendering the entire group unable to move. As Seraphim Jinbei prepared to attack them, Shaka ordered him to stop. Shaka stated that the experiment was over, which angered Lilith's group, because they were having a great time, while Sanji's group didn't know who this person was. So, he introduced himself, "I am Vegapunk Shaka," and he explained that the shoes they were wearing were controlled by magnets, so they couldn't resist anymore. Robin realized they had been captured. At this moment, everyone noticed there were many Vegapunks here. On Luffy's side, they are searching to see, in this garbage dump, is there any invention that can be used? While Shaka asked everyone, "Do you see this island resembling the island of the future?" Which made Franky excited, saying that this is indeed the island of the future, because all the technology here is amazing. But, Shaka replied to them, "This is the past," which surprised Franky. Shaka explained that Egghead belonged to a civilization from 900 years ago. At this moment, Luffy found something great, which made Chopper excited. It turned out to be a giant robot. Bonnie and Jinbei were also surprised. They couldn't believe that this robot could move before. The Nami's group doesn't understand. Why was there a modern city like this 900 years ago? Although Shaka said it was just a hypothesis, but there is a giant robot in the garbage dump that proves this hypothesis. Robin immediately recognized that giant robot was created from the Void Century. Shaka said that because Robin's hometown, Ohara, knows too much about these secrets, so they were destroyed by the world government. It turns out the Void Century was a conflict between an advanced nation and the 12 kingdoms. Finally, that country was defeated. Afterward, the world government was established to prevent anyone from inheriting the will of that great kingdom. They even erased that nation from history. When Shaka said those who know these secrets will be erased, this immediately frightened them, because he had revealed this secret to them in its entirety. Vegapunk appeared to be very interested in this secret. Seeing Vegapunk's keen interest in this secret, Robin didn't know which side he was on. It turns out, he discovered all these secrets himself. If he were to speak out, he would also be annihilated by the world government. Robin asked, "How do you know this secret?" Because all the secrets on Ohara Island were erased, and only Robin survived. So, she is constantly being pursued by the world government. It turns out that after Ohara was destroyed, Vegapunk came to that island, because Professor Clover was his friend. When Professor Clover was young, he was always researching the Void Century, and he traveled around the world to search for documents about it. He even got captured by the Navy many times. Eventually, he became the most famous archaeologist in the world, and returned to Ohara, turned this island into the center of archaeology. But, the world government took notice of it, and ordered the Navy to attack this island. Thanks to that, Professor Clover became even more certain. With his understanding of the poneglyph stones, he knew that the Great Kingdom was a highly developed nation, and it had immense power. So, all information about it was concealed by the world government. He realized that ancient weapons were their main threat. Thus, they immediately attacked Professor Clover, because he knew too much about the Great Kingdom. Even they destroyed the entire island of Ohara, to conceal all the secrets about the Void Century. When Vegapunk arrived, This island had already been completely destroyed by fire. But, he discovered deep inside the island, there were many books hidden in a pond. It turns out that before they die, they tried to throw those books into the pond, to protect this heritage for the future. This made Vegapunk unable to hold back tears when he saw this. Thus, Robin remembered her mother. Before she died, she tried to protect Robin, so she could continue to safeguard history as mankind's treasure. Her mother said, "Live on, Robin," which made Robin burst into tears. At this point, Nami's group was very angry, because Shaka mentioned Robin's painful past. So, Robin told Shaka, his speculation about the existence of the Great Kingdom was correct. It turns out Vegapunk wasn't the one holding those books, but on that day, he met Dragon. On Luffy's side, they were still inspecting the ancient machine, but no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't figure out how to start it. Seeing Luffy and Chopper just fooling around, Bonnie didn't understand what they were trying to do. At this point, Luffy searched everywhere but couldn't find the cockpit, which disappointed him. They think this robot is controlled by voice. Thus, they kept shouting out different names. Bonnie thought they were just fooling around. Surprisingly, the robot reacted. But, they saw someone trapped inside the machine. It turned out to be an old man. So, Luffy immediately pulled him out. At that moment, he asked, "You're Dragon's child, aren't you?" Suddenly, Bonnie got angry and realized he was Vegapunk. Seeing him able to fly, Luffy was excited. So, Luffy and Chopper also tried to flip the switch, and they immediately flew up into the sky. It turned out he was Dr. Vegapunk, the greatest mind in the world. 22 years ago, after Ohara Island was completely destroyed, Vegapunk arrived on the island, although everyone on the island had already died. But, Vegapunk realized that they had won, because they had protected the valuable books of Ohara's heritage. Suddenly, he saw giants gathering the books here, making Vegapunk wonder what they were doing. Seeing them taking away these valuable books, made Vegapunk worried. Suddenly, Dragon appeared. At this time, he was only 33 years old. Turns out they were friends. Dragon noticed that Vegapunk's head was developing. Vegapunk asked, "Why are you here?" Turns out Dragon came to visit Professor Clover, making both of them feel regretful for him, because he was a great person. But, Dragon also didn't know what these giants were doing. Even so, he realized they weren't stealing the books, they were giants from Elbaf. And their captain is a mysterious figure, wounded all over. At this point, Dragon blamed Vegapunk, because he had been working for the world government. But, he refused to join Dragon's freedom fighters. Vegapunk believed that, even though the freedom fighters would have the added strength and intellect of him, he still couldn't help them defeat the world government, because Dragon's freedom fighters were too poor. But Vegapunk said, "There will still be people in the Marines who will listen to you." Dragon became angry, because the world government was too ruthless. Even though the people of Ohara did nothing wrong, they were still ruthlessly wiped out. So, Dragon was determined to build an army that could fight against the world government and say, "I will change this world." Then Dragon collaborated with Ivankov and Kuma to establish a revolutionary army that would shake the world. After hearing Vegapunk and Shaka tell the whole story, it surprised Nami's group. Frankie realized that Kuma was actually a very good person, because he had once saved Luffy's crew. Shaka told them, Vegapunk once went to Elbaf to meet the leader of the giant tribe, and he read all the books there, so, all the knowledge of Ohara is in his head. At this moment, Robin realized that the leader of the giant tribe was Saul, which made her very happy, because Saul is still alive. Suddenly, their shoes moved on their own. Shaka said, "I have something to show you." On Luffy's side, he was still very excited, because he could fly. Chopper remained curious about Vegapunk, while Bonnie asked, "What happened to your head?" Vegapunk replied, "I cut it off." It turns out Vegapunk's head had previously grown so large that it was as tall as a giant. Chopper asked, "Why can he still live?" It turns out he had eaten the brain fruit, allowing his brain to store unlimited knowledge, and it became the largest brain in the world. So Luffy asked, "Having your brain cut, are you stupid?" Turns out the apple on his head is an antenna, and Punk Records Island is his brain storage facility, so it can connect with him wherever he is. At this point, he explained, the girl Atlas they had encountered, it's one of his 6 copies on this island. Shaka is a calm person, representing good. Lilith is someone who likes to steal, representing evil. Edison is an inventor, representing thinking. Pythagoras is a curious person, representing wisdom. Atlas is a violent person, Atlas represents violence. And York is a glutton, representing greed. These 6 individuals represent the 6 personalities of Vegapunk. They are synchronized and connected. sharing experiences with each other every day. Through punk records, Luffy couldn't understand anything at all. Despite that, he still seemed very excited. But Bonnie still harbors deep resentment towards Vegapunk, because he's willing to sacrifice everything for science, and turned her father into a heartless weapon. So, she threatened Vegapunk to turn Kuma back to normal. But, he said that this sword would attract a swarm of insects here. Suddenly, a swarm of insects appeared, making Bonnie terrified. On Shaka's side, they brought Nami's group to the surveillance room, and they saw Luffy's group. Meanwhile, Bonnie had fainted. Turned out she was afraid of insects. Vegapunk also guessed that Bonnie harbored a strong hatred towards him. Suddenly he asked Luffy, "Did you see another dragon similar to Kaido in Wano?" Luffy recognized that it was Momo. It turns out the devil fruit that Momo ate was Vegapunk's failed product, and he spent 20 years researching Kaido's lineage factor to develop that artificial devil fruit. But Luffy found that devil fruit to be very strong. Unlike a failed product, Vegapunk asked, "What color is that dragon?" Pink, which immediately disappointed Vegapunk, because its color was different from Kaido's. At this point, Luffy asked, "Did you create this robot?" So, he explained, it's the legendary robot from 200 years ago. Outside of Egghead, the world government ordered CP0 to eliminate Vegapunk. At this point, Luffy asked Vegapunk, "Can this iron giant move?" So, he told them, this iron giant attacked the Holy Land Mary Joie 200 years ago. If it wakes up, it will attack the Holy Land Mary Joie once again, which made Chopper scared, and he revealed, this iron giant was created 900 years ago, surprising Luffy's group. While Luffy was very excited, he wants to awaken this robot. Luffy even hit the iron giant's head. While Jinbei didn't understand why the iron giant attacked Mary Joie, but Vegapunk also didn't know. He only heard about it 200 years ago. When the iron giant attacked Mary Joie, it ran out of energy, so it didn't cause too much damage to Mary Joie. But for scientists, it was a great opportunity, because this iron giant is such advanced technology. It makes Luffy even more intrigued. Vegapunk said he also doesn't know where this iron giant comes from, and the world government has ordered its destruction. But scientists have tried to protect this iron giant and place it here. Even the world government doesn't know this. At this point, Luffy immediately told Vegapunk to restore it, so he could control it and turn it into his own robot. But Vegapunk still couldn't do it. At this point, Vegapunk was very surprised, because Luffy's group has found this secret garbage dump. Luffy explained that they stumbled upon here through the wall, while Robin's group was still following Luffy, and they had also heard the whole story. This surprised Nami, because she didn't know who would want to attack the celestial dragons. Frankie didn't understand why the iron giant could enter Mary Joie. Sanji thought it resembled the robot that brought them here. Shaka explained that it was created based on the iron giant, but currently, they still cannot restore its energy, surprising everyone, because even Vegapunk cannot do this. Shaka explained, because the iron giant uses a strange energy source from the past, so they cannot restore it. At this moment, they noticed Bonnie. Unexpectedly, she was traveling with Luffy's group. Seeing that Bonnie still hadn't woken up, Vegapunk remembered Kuma, and he felt guilty towards Bonnie. So, Luffy immediately told him to kneel down and apologize to Bonnie. He said there was something important he wanted to give to Bonnie, and Vegapunk asked Luffy, "Can you help me get out of Egghead?" Outside Egghead, Lucci's group is advancing in. They then spotted the giant monsters. He recognized them as Vegapunk's guards, so Lucci immediately ordered to attack them. Seeing that they had defeated the giant monsters, Pythagoras promptly informed Shaka that the world government had dispatched CP0 here, making Nami's group worried, as they knew it was Lucci who had come. But Lilith said just handing over the Straw Hat Pirates to Lucci would suffice, making everyone fearful. At this moment, Shaka made the decision. They would fight against the world government, on the side of the Revolutionary Army. Kuma is trying to move, while everyone is trying to repair him, making people puzzled about what Kuma is trying to do. Suddenly, Kuma is trying to run away, causing worry for Dragon and Ivankov. So, they immediately try to stop him. But Kuma promptly uses his devil fruit power to depart. At this point, Pythagoras demands that Lucci return Seraphim to them, and tells him to leave the island immediately. At this moment, Lucci states that he's here to investigate the disappearance of Cypher Pole. This angers Lilith. She realizes that they are lying. On Luffy's side, they are surprised, because Vegapunk wants to leave. While he still seems very proud, he introduces to them that this island was built by him. Despite facing shortages in manpower and budget multiple times, he finally managed to build this island of the future, and his dream is to create a world provided with free energy that would help the world be free from war. But Luffy is completely uninterested. It's only now that he tells them the reason Vegapunk wants to leave this island. He wants to unlock the secret of the Void Century, to search for the power source of this iron giant, but if he does, he'll be eradicated by the world government just like Ohara. Suddenly, the city was attacked. While Pythagoras was trying to chase Lucci away, at this moment, Lucci ordered everyone on the ship that they would abandon the ship and infiltrate Egghead, leaving the ship here as bait. So, Seraphim Kuma teleported them to the island, and the sea monsters attacked the ship. On Luffy's side, they thought the city was under attack, but Vegapunk said the explosion was outside the island. He realized that the CP0 had arrived, while Luffy only thought they were no different from CP9. Then Jinbei informed Luffy they were much stronger than CP9. At this point, Lucci had infiltrated the city. It made them very intrigued, because the city was too modern. The employees here also recognized them as CP0. Shaka's group also noticed they had entered the city, making everyone worried, because this guy turned out to be Lucci. Sanji was determined to protect Robin this time, while Shaka wondered how they got in here, as their ship was destroyed by sea monsters outside. Pythagoras speculated it was because of Seraphim Kuma's powers. Shaka realized they had abandoned the ship. Realizing they were prepared to sacrifice on this island, he immediately informed everyone, telling Atlas to return to the laboratory, and instructing Sentomaru to evacuate everyone. At that moment, he released all the Seraphim. Turns out Seraphim number 1 is S-Hawk, a version of Mahawk. Seraphim number 3 is Snake, a version of Boa Hancock. Seraphim number 4 is S-Shark, a version of Jinbei. Thus, he ordered the Seraphim to attack. Vegapunk realized that the world government had ordered his assassination, so he wants Luffy to take him off this island. Luffy immediately agrees, because he finds his head intriguing. But first, Vegapunk wants to take Bonnie to Labophase, and he tells Luffy to use the flying rocket to get there. This makes Luffy excited, but Vegapunk immediately disappears. On the CP0 side, they see the giant dragon, causing them to be frightened. So, Kaku decides to fight it. When the dragon attacks, he also flies up to attack the dragon. Unexpectedly, his attack passes through the dragon. Stussy says it's just a 3D image, and the dragon disappears. So, Kaku immediately flew up to Labophase above the clouds. Unexpectedly, he immediately fell into a trap and exploded. Stussy explains, Labophase is protected by a solid defense system. Thus, she tells Lucci not to underestimate Vegapunk. Suddenly, Atlas ran over to chase them away, surprising Kaku. Stussy said she is one of Vegapunk's clones. Seeing Atlas about to attack Lucci, making Nami's group worried, and Shaka told her to stop. But Atlas still stubbornly refused to listen to him, surprising Lucci, because Vegapunk had such a foolish clone. So, he released his devil fruit power, deciding to fight Atlas. When Atlas attacked, he managed to dodge, and immediately used Rokuogan to attack her. With just one blow, he defeated Atlas, causing her head to explode. At this moment, Shaka warned everyone. He told them to run away. While Luffy's group was happily searching for Vegapunk's rocket, suddenly, he saw Lucci's group, surprising them, not understanding why he came here. While Lucci was intending to catch Luffy, Kaku warned him, Luffy is now one of the 4 emperors, so, they couldn't do anything foolish. Suddenly, Luffy saw a Saibot that had been defeated. As he ran closer, he only then realized it was Atlas, and earlier, she had provided them with food. Seeing Atlas heavily injured, so, Luffy asked, did you do this to her? Lucci replied, this is the work of the world government. But, Luffy didn't care because Atlas had given him food. Thus, Luffy decided to fight Lucci, and their battle will begin in the next episode. Today's video ends here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Onichan in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Love you all.